Hello, everybody. It is 5 in the morning. I just got back home. I left the house at 3:30 in the morning to go drive somebody to work. But it was fantastic. Last night, got a little notice on my phone saying there was an extreme cold warning in place, and my car wasn't plugged in. I was sitting at about probably 70, 60, 70%, somewhere in there. And at about 3 in the morning when I woke up, it was supposed to be the windshield, so what it feels like was going to be about minus 40, which is the same whether Celsius or Fahrenheit, and I was really happy about that. I basically got my coffee going. 5 minutes before I left the house, I started the climate, warming up the vehicle. And when I got into the vehicle, it was super nice and toasty. And so with that, I basically still did the same. It took a little longer for the defrosting cycle. Just with it being so cold outside, I couldn't leave my the heat off as long as I normally would. Like, I was actually really warm inside, but I couldn't leave the heat off because the windows were frosting so much from being the temperature difference. So I actually had it pretty close to as low as the temperature will go on my climate settings. So yeah, and I was super warm, and it's not like I'm wearing a massive winter jacket. I have a t-shirt and a hoodie on, and I'm balding, so I got a toque on, no gloves or anything. So it's not, I'm also a warmer person, so maybe that makes a little bit of a difference. But yeah, and the car wasn't plugged in, so I didn't have any of that, and it worked fantastic. It was super nice. And I actually just finished listening to a podcast yesterday where a guy he was supposed to be promoting EVs, but he was basically saying EVs don't work so much in the colder climate of Canada, where I'm pretty sure this morning I've basically proved that to be wrong, since not plugged in and still too warm. So yeah, we're going to leave it at that. I'm going to go inside and go get some breakfast. So you guys have a great day. We'll talk to you later. Bye. Hello again, everybody. As you could tell from that recording, it was kind of early in the morning. I was not fully awake, apparently. But yeah, we've gone through quite the little cold snap here. But in an electric, we came out really good. I've actually been receiving phone calls from my mom, who's up in northern Alberta, who keeps calling to tell me about all the issues she's having with her car in regards to the cold. Like, her 12-volt battery basically just completely froze up, where I don't worry about my 12-volt battery. I got it set to, I believe the function's called battery saver, and it basically, essentially, the big battery feeds the little battery, basically keeping it all nice and warm. So I don't worry about it. Whether it's minus 40 out, plus 20, whatever. It's all the same. I don't have to worry about any of my lights being left on because I know that battery's taken care of. Her other issue was the end of her block heater cord. I guess the cord itself basically froze and kind of broke, and so her block heater wasn't working either, which for those in the warmer areas, the block heater basically just keeps your antifreeze warm so it doesn't freeze up, so it's a lot easier for your vehicle to start. But that broke, so she had all her fluids frozen, her battery frozen, everything was frozen. And when we had those temperatures, I had my vehicle unplugged, as I had mentioned, and no issues. It was all nice and toasty. The only issue I've been having with the cold is actually comes from, hey, there's a little fox running by. I'm actually at Assiniboine Park Zoo recording this, but I don't think that fox is a part of the zoo, because I'm outside of the zoo area. Sidetracked. But the only issue I've been having, which I got an appointment on Tuesday to hopefully rectify, is when my car is actually plugged into the charger at home and I go to use the BlueLink app to turn on the climate. I actually have the issue of it wants to blow cold air. Instead of warming up the actual seating air? Cabin. That's what it's called. Instead of warming up the cabin, it basically just blows cold air. It's also, I have it set to turn on the heated steering wheel, and it doesn't do that either. So basically everything is cold, and if not actually colder, because it's got cold air blown on it. So we're hoping to get that fixed and dealt with on Tuesday, although the dealership did not sound overly optimistic on that. They're like, it could be a software thing, not sure if we'll be able to replicate it. So this might be something that we move up the ladder with, and talk to Hyundai Canada or whatever. I tried seeing if any of the other Hyundai groups on like Facebook have had any issues like that, and nobody really answered if they did. They started getting into a whole conversation about the heated seats and steering wheel and all that. So it doesn't sound like anybody's having a similar issue like I'm having. So I don't know if this is a my issue or an app issue. Also getting my one tire keeps slowly leaking air, which really sucks in the cold, because then I am forced to actually go to a gas station to actually fill it up with air. So yeah, I go hang out at the gas stations every once in a while. But it's not actually, there's no hole in it, so it's where the rubber meets the rim. It's called the bead. I'm pretty sure it's just leaking out of there. So I'll get them to fix that at the same time. But yeah, it's a couple of annoyances, but overall, nothing is really due to the cold. It's due to, let's call it Hyundai. But yeah, so there's that. This past Saturday, we actually, there was me, Manitoba Electric Vehicle Association, and IKEA all kind of partnered, and we had an electric vehicle show, essentially. We had a BMW i3 there, we had a Model 3 there, we had a Mitsubishi i-MiEV. We had a person come in that bought a Kia Soul electric, but their window got smashed, so they didn't bring it. And we had a couple of Chevy Volts. I believe that was it. But just basically showing how great electrics are. Actually, this past weekend, we just went through another winter storm with a lot of cold weather going on and a lot of snow. Like, they're talking 20 centimeters of snow. So I actually went like an hour early, just because I was thinking I was going to have to shovel out an area for us to park. But no, IKEA was great. The guys they have clearing the parking lot were super awesome. They cleared off the whole little area that we were parking in and the parking lot, and yeah, it was really impressive. The manager at IKEA, super awesome guy. He was very helpful and very encouraging of our activities and what we're trying to show. But the one interesting thing I noticed we were there for, I think I was there for about 4.5, 5 hours. I noticed when you're doing a car show in the winter, you never get asked if it works in the winter. In the summer and springtime when we do the car shows then, or even the fall, it's always, well, yeah, it works now, but when it's minus 30 out, it's not going to work. Where basically by us being there in the minus 30 with the snow and all that, we've already proved that no, it actually does work in the winter. It does work in the cold. And we actually explained to a lot of people who some had the issues of the cold with their gas vehicles. They basically went on to explain to them how we didn't have the same issues. We had actually talking with, I think we had about 10 members that were there to explain their experiences in the cold. We explained to them how none of us had any issues other than my tire deal, which isn't cold related, and I guess the plug-in, but I just don't plug in, and then I don't have that issue, right? And it wasn't really cold related. But it was really good. Got a lot of attention. I think it had to do with most car shows aren't in the winter here. So we actually were going to almost have a reporter was in discussions with me beforehand to actually come. I guess stuff didn't work out with her boss or with the winter storm. There was bigger news related items for them to look at. But I noticed in other newspaper and media feeds and all that, with the Saskatchewan Electric Vehicle Group, they actually had, I think it was 2 or 3 different articles and a few different media, like film crews and all that, going and speaking to their members during the cold and basically saying how great electrics are in the cold. I actually found also with the cold, because I essentially have 3 different choices of braking abilities. I found when the roads were really slippery, so I have my regen set for level 3, which is the highest regen level Hyundai can give me type deal. When I have it set for that, and when I could see that the road is super slippery and I'm just letting off the accelerator, it actually does a lot of stopping for me. And just out of curiosity, because it was 4 a.m. and nobody on the road, I did actually hit the brake pedal to see how slippery it was. And actually, when I hit the brake pedal, I did start doing the little slide and dancing around. So I noticed the regen braking is actually the best because you maintain that traction and control that you don't get with the brakes, because the brakes want to stop and they just don't feel any resistance type deal. So, because it's just ice. So they just want to slide. So I do like the safety related features with that. I've noticed that most people on the groups on Facebook are basically say to turn the regen down for winter, where I don't find that. I find sitting at the maximum, it's working way better for me than your normal braking. Although the foot heat I've noticed on the Kona, the foot heat kind of sucks. It could also be that I don't wear proper socks for the weather, but it doesn't blow much heat on my feet. It blows great heat everywhere else except my feet. Maybe I'll just have to actually start wearing proper socks and shoes and all that, because I do just wear like simple hiking shoes. Although when I'm shoveling a bunch of snow, I do have nice good winter boots. I just don't use them when I'm driving. But yeah, what else? With the electrics, the big thing was range loss in the cold. So I've noticed with the range loss, I'm sitting at about, right now it's, call it minus 20 Celsius out. And I am sitting at a 93% with 336 kilometer range. It's saying I'll max out at 362 kilometers being fully charged. So I am losing about, I think it's about 60-ish kilometers from what I was getting when it was nice out. But what I'm finding though is if for whatever reason I do need the more range, in a gas vehicle you can't start turning off stuff to get that extra range. With an electric, I can turn off the heat. I can get more range on the heat by turning off the heat. And I'm still nice and warm because of the heated seat and heated steering wheel, right? I'm still feeling that comfort. I can turn the heat on and off, right? Where in a gas, you don't have a choice because the heat is just a waste byproduct. So, yeah. And there is the conversation that the inefficiency of electrics in the winter and the loss and all that. But I was listening to a podcast and they explained it a very interesting way about how, let's say, just for argument's sake, we're going to go with gas at $1 a liter or $1 a gallon, whatever, right? But the efficiency of a gas vehicle to actually use that gas to propel you is only about 20% efficiency. Most is waste heat, which is why it doesn't matter how hot you have it, but it also takes the time to get hot. Or noise, apparently. I never really thought of the noise being using up power to make the noise, but I guess with the exhaust inefficiencies and all that. But, so it's 20% efficient. So at $1 a liter or $1 a gallon, you're using 70 cents is for nothing, really, for warming up the motor or the engine and making noise. Where with, I believe the low rating on an electric is 70% efficiency. So all things equal, $1 a kilowatt, which I don't know if there's any place that actually is $1 a kilowatt, but you're only looking at essentially a loss of 30 cents for each kilowatt. So 30 cents versus the 70 cents. It's, or, yeah, 80 cents. Math is difficult for my brain right now. But you're looking at essentially just flushing money down the drain with going with the gas vehicles. And I haven't heard of anybody really needing anything extra in the winter. Like, there's another article I was looking at with getting your gas vehicle ready for the winter, and you got to change the oil, put winter oil in, you got to check all the coolants and all that, where electrics, we don't have that. The oil is sealed. There's nothing really to do with that. So overall, winter, and I'm actually working on convincing my mom of this, is the electric vehicles are the best winter vehicles. It is a fair expense up front, but it's definitely well worth it when you have to deal with even, like, especially the older generation where they're already getting the aching joints and all that in the cold. Arthritis and all that, I know, really wreaks havoc on some people. So if you can essentially have the least amount of time in the cold and basically can get inside a nice warm vehicle to begin with, it will save a lot of frustration and a lot of actual bodily pain for some people. But which my mom is one of those people that is getting up in age and can do that. The other thing that I was talking to family about in regards to this extreme cold is I had an aunt actually who just clipped a deer when it was really cold out, and basically her front bumper, her turn light, and her front driver fender basically is gone, right? But so I actually started showing her pictures of the Cybertruck and all that, because she uses this vehicle, is basically she lives 40 kilometers out of town. This is her commuting vehicle, her farm truck and all that. It's a Ford Explorer. And so I showed her the Cybertruck. And we were talking about how basically indestructible this thing is. How with the sheet metal and all that, the deer might actually just bounce off type deal. The only one question that I had in regards to that is, will it still have a plastic bumper at the front? I don't know. I know back bumpers can be steel. I don't know if I know there's like bumper rules, like your bumper has to crumple X amount at 3 kilometers or 5 kilometers, or 3 miles and 5 miles, one of those, right? It's been a while since I've actually had discussions about that. So I'm not sure if the bumpers are going to have any plastic on them, or if they're also going to be that stainless steel, which I'm hoping they're the stainless steel, because when you get into those really cold temperatures, plastic just shatters. Like, even you bump a snowbank or whatever. I know when I worked at a body shop, the winter was super busy just because people would bump stuff, like, or just slide into a pole or whatever, and because it's so cold, the plastic bumper just like disintegrates. Where when it's hot out, the bumper has that flexibility, the plastic, and so it kind of just bounces back and forth type deal. So that it would be a good thing to know beforehand, but I think, like, especially for a case where it's a farm and commuting vehicle, I think it would be great for them. They are also in an oil field country, so and it is a really expensive vehicle for their needs, but possibly as a used vehicle, I'm not sure how long until we start seeing used Cybertrucks, or heck, even used Ford F-150s, the electric versions, or pretty much any of the ones. I can't see Rivians being cheap even when they're used, given their starting price point is, I believe, $70,000-$80,000 US. So I can't see that being a cheaper vehicle in the used segment. But again, it has a lot of plastic, where the Cybertruck doesn't have the plastic. It's a great work truck, which I think will be great for a lot of people. But yeah, I think that's all for now. Yeah, we're finally starting to warm up again, so all the cold weather talk should be over. hopefully. And yeah, you guys have yourself a great couple of weeks, and we'll talk to you later. If you would like to shoot me an email, it's at truenorthev@gmail.com. Or you can look me up on Facebook, True North EV Podcast. And yeah, I think that's it. I apparently need to go get a coffee. And I'll talk to you guys later. Bye.